Hello everyone. Today's about the Lamy 2000. Well, it's about the Lamy 2000 and how it's been notoriously tricky to replicate for cheap, right? So most of the big fountain pens, like especially the Mont Blanc, the Pelican, there have been some clones in the market, not exactly the same, but certainly functionally the same. So the nib be the same, performance within reason, the feeder, the nib unit, the barrel, the piston, all those bits, typically running the same way, right? Lamy 2000 is a different beast though. So the Lamy, it's an old design. It's an absolutely incredible design and it's stood the test of time, but it's unlike any other pen that you've ever seen. So technically, to get this thing to function, there are so many hoops and bells and whistles inside the thing that you need to be able to deal with if you're going to get this thing to perform the way it's supposed to. So there've been some attempts at sort of getting around it. Like for starters, it's classical design, right? It looks a very particular way that very few pens do look like, other than this one. So the Jinhao Frosted 80 that came out recently for about $8, it looks much the same, right? So here's a Frosted 80. Here is the Lamy 2000, same length. Same, roughly the same sort of plastic. It feels a bit different now. Same clip, looks the same. But the performance is completely different. And as soon as you take the cap off, it's a totally different beast. So this one, you take it off and you've got a regular nib. You've got a nib here. And then this one, you take it off and you've got part of a nib. And then, yeah, the feed is completely different as well. And you're going, what is going on inside this one? Totally different. This one, the Frosted 80, has a cartridge converter inside it. So you just unscrew it, and the grip section there is just the same as pretty much any other pen. Right. Different with the Lamy 2000. Whew. So then what? So that's $8. So $8 is super cheap, right? Did a good job at looking a bit like it, but absolutely nothing in terms of the actual mechanics and the engineering of it. Next up, we had the Mahjong. So there was a TI-2000 that came out, and it was a little before my time. What there is the TI-200. Similar thing, in as much as you've got this titanium grip section that has internal to it it also functions like a hooded nib. You've got an actual gold nib inside there. It's a very small one. It's quite a familiar design to a lot of other pens, but it's really not the same as the Lamy 2000 in any way. I don't know what happened with the TI-2000. It was much more like the Lamy 2000, but it came off the market really quickly, and I haven't been able to find it anywhere. So I don't know what's going on with that. It's weird. It's not often that the pen just disappears off the market, especially when it's an international one that's just come on at a fairly low price point. Anyway, whatever. That doesn't matter. So a bit of time's passed. And the last couple of weeks, I got this new one that's come in. And this one is much more like the Lamy 2000. This here is the Dukang2000. Now, it's a stainless steel brushed body, brushed cap, very heavy because it's all metal, right? All metal. So the Lamy 2000 is, it's all plastic on the surface there. It's that, but yeah, you see the length of the Lamy 2000 there is shorter, but it's strange because when you take the caps off, whoop, yeah, I didn't like that. Anyway, that's how you take the cap off. This is the new Dukang2000, and if you compare them, they're the same size. They are actually identical in size. And then if you look at the nib unit, this is the grip section. There's a little tiny retaining clip just there. If you put them alongside each other, yeah, so that part is also the same size. However, I'm going to go and retrieve the cap from the Lamy 2000, which, yeah, still intact. Yeah, no damage. Lovely. All right, you put that on, you get a couple of things. Firstly, this slow resistance, and then click. It's a really, really, really pleasant click. I love that one. The Dukang, not so much, but yeah, small click, there isn't that increase in resistance as you go in. And the reason for that is that the internals of the cap are completely different from the internals of cap of the Lamy 2000. What does it matter? Well, what it does is that when you put it on, it doesn't go far in with the Dukang, and you end up with a much longer pen when you've got the cap back on, despite the fact that the caps are the same length and the body of the pen is the same length. Weird. Well, not really weird. It's just the Lamy 2000 is just so well engineered. Not so much this one. Still pretty good. All right, what else we got? Well, it's going to be hard for me to show you much from this camera angle, so let's just do some writing, and also let's just get the zoom onto it, see what it actually looks like right now. All right, so the Lamy 2000, this one here, that's the genuine Lamy 2000. Look at that. So we've got this beautiful gold broad nib here. The grip unit, 2 parts. So you've got the stainless steel, and it goes completely seamlessly into this plastic here, right? You've got the clip there that locates the cap perfectly with that final click. You've got the ink display window in here where you can see the transparent section. Yeah. The barrel, and then you won't be able to see it, but at the base here, you've got the piston knob where you can rotate it and the ink goes in and out. Here, luckily, I haven't pushed it enough to squirt out any ink, but believe me, there's some in there. All right, so that's the Lamy 2000. I mean, there's plenty more about it, but we'll just leave it there for now. All right. Next up, this that's the TI200. So this is the Moonman TI200, somewhat like the Lamy 2000. The shape, the fact that there's a sort of rounded, tapered shape all the way down to the nib, but it's really much like a whole bunch of other pens, older pens. I forget the name of them, but hey, it's definitely not the Lamy 2000. It does have a titanium body and a 14-karat gold nib, so this one's actually a reasonably expensive pen, although, you know, for a gold nib, $130 I think it was, or still is. It's pretty reasonable, you know. Yeah, it's definitely not a Lamy 2000. Absolutely not. What else we got? So these guys are the least Lamy 2000. So $8. This is the what is it? The Jinhao Frosted 80. So they look like the Lamy 2000 from the exterior, but as soon as you take the cap off, this one's just got a standard Lamy nib. It's a bit of the irony there that the only nib that doesn't fit into the Lamy 2000 the only nib that doesn't fit into a Lamy pen, into all Lamy pens, is the Lamy 2000 nib. And this is the type of nib that will fit into all the Lamy pens except the Lamy 2000. So it's kind of funny. This one I've actually done a bit of a 45-degree oblique on it, so it's a right-footed oblique for me. But yeah, that's a Lamy nib. It's just not the Lamy 2000 nib. And it's a huge amount of nib relative to the amount that you see with the Lamy 2000, right? So there you go, comparison. It's just absolutely not the same. Right, and then finally, well, hang on, sorry, just a bit more on the Frosted 80. So it just unscrews, and the body is just it just covers up this cartridge converter just like any other pen. So there's nothing special about this pen whatsoever, and that's why it's only $8. Yeah, all right. Next, lastly, this is where we get something a bit special. This is the Dukang2000, so it's the recent release. This one shares quite a bit more in common with the Lamy 2000. So for starters, I mean, what to say? The dimensions are much the same, except for the distance that the cap travels when you click it into place. So as I mentioned before, you've got the body there of the Lamy 2000, you've got the body of the Dukang2000, similar length, similar proportions. The components of the pens are roughly the same size. But then when you put the cap on, it's just a whole different thing. The Lamy 2000 is just next level, really. It goes in much further, as you can see here. What else? Well, I'm not going to take apart the TI200 or the Frosted 80s, but I think it is going to be worthwhile showing you what's inside these two pens because there's some similarities, but there are some pretty serious differences. So let's get onto it. So what do we got? We'll start with the Lamy2000, and we will first up unscrew the nib unit or the grip section. You can just counterclockwise, just like any other pen. That comes off nice and easy. And there you have it. You've got there's a thread there that you can see in the plastic. There's a clip in the nib unit here that you can see. And you should be able to put this one down. I'll put it down without it going everywhere. There's ink in it. So how are we going to get this out? Shall we just push? That's how you do it. Yeah. So just push from the sides of the nib. You should be able to just push it and it just comes straight out. That was really easy. Here it comes. Here it comes. It's going to be pretty wet. Yeah, let's get a tissue. Let's get a tissue. I don't want to wreck that paper right away. It's pretty wet, so here we go. Out it pops. Heaps on the fingers already, so there we are. What does that show us? Oh, it shows there's a lot of ink. Oh, look at that. Already straight through. Heaps of ink all the way through. My God. Ah! Calamity. Calamity. Let's wrap it up, shall we? Give it a bit of a squeeze. There we are. What do we got? What do we have here? Well, it's a very interesting design because it's a feed that I haven't seen on any other pen. It's quite a wide feed. It goes out. The diameter of it's quite large given the size of the nib. And that's the other thing that really stands out for me is the size of that nib. So those nibs are expensive, right? They're $170, I think, for the Lamy2000 nib replacements. So it's a gold nib, but there's not much of it there. Maybe we should zoom in there for a bit. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, so here we are. Man, I'm going to get ink all over me. Let's see how we go. So I'm going to try and take that nib off. It's just, there we are. Got it. Where'd it go? There it is. Sort of. Covered in ink, of course. There's so much ink in this pen. There it is. Let's get rid of that paper. Made a mess, and that's not going to stop. So there it is. There's the Lamy2000 nib. It's teensy, isn't it? It's absolutely teensy. I'll turn it over. You can see, maybe I can turn it over. Let's see how we go. No, it doesn't want to turn over. Come on. Here we are. Force it to turn over. Here we go. All right, so that nib there is a broad. As you can see, there's a fairly hefty little tip on the end of that pen, on the end of that nib. I'll zoom in a bit more. Go to 5 times. There we are. Yeah. So, oh, and I've polished it back a little bit as well because I was struggling getting a decent line out of this thing reliably. It's quite hard to get the precise spot where you get the optimum writing, especially for a left-hander like myself. So I just found that with a little bit of a right foot grind, I don't know if you can see that there. It's probably too hard to tell, but so what side? That would be this side. So the right foot here, when you flip it over, that's the right foot. Yeah, on the right-hand side there. It's not as. Can I zoom in? Let's try that. All right, move it into focus. There we are. Yeah, so yeah, there's a little bit more give on the end there. It's not quite as angular as on the left-hand side, and that just means that as a lefty with quite imperfect writing style, I can still get a pretty decent line out of this pen now. It actually performs really well for me, so having a good time with it. It's about time. All right, let's flip it over so we can see it from the other side. We've got the zoom going here now. Here we are. Here we are. Look at that. It's pretty. Very pretty nib, isn't it? Expensive. It's tiny. It's absolutely tiny. All right, what about the feed? The feed's an unusual feed as well, right? So that's a massive O-ring at the end. Yeah, that thing there, it's a big O-ring. And the way that the nib sits, so it's much the same as all the other Lamy nibs, where it just it's got the side wings that you slide onto the grip section, sorry, onto the nib unit. What am I saying? Into the feed, not nib unit, the feed. You can see them there, the top and bottom sections there that just slide onto it like so. Yeah, I'm just going to put it all back. Why not? There we go. Sits nicely. Yeah, so it's much the same as all the other Lamy pens, but much smaller. And yet, you get so much ink out of this thing. So it's a really impressive design to get the ink that you need and to be able to cope with a double broad or even a triple broad for the old Lamy nibs. So there you go, that's that one. Yeah, the clip in the, what am I going to do? Go back to a double. Yeah. So the clip in here, yeah, it seems to sit nicer than in the other one, in the Dukang, but I will get to that eventually. I'm just going to put this back in, right, because it's, might as well. Is it going to fit? What's the angle here? Here's like that. So straight in, like so. No. No. Whoop. Whoop, whoop, whoop. I don't want to damage it. What's going on here? Oh, there we are. Okay, we're in. We're in. Just need to get the right angle. That's much better. All right, so it's reconstructed. Yeah, let's get the barrel and put it all back together. We really don't need to have it separated. You could compare the two when they're all taken apart, but let's just get it nice and tidy. Yeah, there we are. Okay, where's the Dukang? Here's the Dukang. Let's take it apart, shall we? See what the differences are. All right, it's the same thing. We take the top off. You just give it a twist. It comes off nice and easy. First thing though, this is quite surprising, and that's that the nib. You take it out before you take the feed out. So you just grab the nib from the tip. I believe, maybe not. Maybe not. All right, maybe we'll push it. No, that's not going to work either. Maybe pull the feed out. There we are. That came straight off. The nib has stayed behind. Will just come out. Look at that. So how different is that? Well, there's a lot of ink there for starters. So I'll get another tissue. My fingers are going to be red for a while now, aren't they? They really are. That ink will have gone through a few sheets, I reckon, too. That's only got 2 mils of this ink, maybe one left. It's the Sleigh Ride by Lamy. It was part of the Inkvent 2024 calendar. It's one of my favorites now because it's got this incredible green sheen and a nice reddy pinky hue. But there we have it. You've got what looks like a fairly standard feed, right? It's a bit narrower than most. What the nib is a strange dimension. So it's much bigger than the Lamy2000 nib. That's the first thing that you notice. It's not a gold one, of course. It goes much further into the feed here. The feed doesn't look like it's going to have as much ink flow through either because the diameter is much less. And yeah, the nib goes much further along the feed. I think it really needs to get the ink flow that it's going to require. All right, so that's quite different, isn't it? This is why you can't get a broad in the Dukang2000. You can only get a fine. Actually, maybe it's in the medium. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to look at is the barrel is different as well, right? So this part here was non-existent in the Lamy, right? So this looks quite different. And finally, is the clip. Oh no, it's sitting nicely. So that little clip in there is that's sitting really well. Previously, it was quite a challenge to get it to go back exactly where it was supposed to be. So Reassembly, I think, is going to be a fair bit easier this time because that hasn't come out. All right, so what I'm going to do, reassembly this time, you got to put the you put the feed back into the grip section. So it just pops in, nice and easy, just in like that. Yep, there we go. And then you put the nib in after, I would think. So for now, I'm just going to tighten the barrel back into the grip section, like so. I'm going to do it upside down. I don't really care if the, going to get the thread where I do not want to do it. There we are, that's perfect. Okay, that's going in great. Twist, 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 and perfectly aligned, no problems at all. And put the nib back in. That's just going to go over the top. Just going to slide it in. That shouldn't be a problem. Yep, nice and easy. That's gone back in fantastically. So that's been reassembled now. There we are. All right, what about the writing? What about the writing? Well, let's see what it does, eh? Yeah, well, before we do the writing, I've just got to show you this ink and the sheen that it has. So check this out. Yeah, that green's pretty awesome, isn't it? It's so nice. One more time. Yeah, just changing the direction of the lighting. Excellent. Now that's all. Now some writing. All right, so this is the Dukang2000. Let's see what it does. Oh, wow. So I didn't do anything to get the ink to flow again. So that's after a disassembly and a reassembly. It's already flowing really well. So that's very impressive, I think. So this is the Dukang2000. Yeah, come on, man. Get it together, Willis. Dukang2000 with a, does it say M on there? I vaguely think I remembered seeing an M, which is weird because I thought it only came in an F. I can't read that. I cannot see it. Yeah. Yeah, probably see it later. I think it says an M. Let's call it an M. So it's an M. It is, what else has it got? It's got the Sleigh Ride. Sleigh Ride. By Diamine. Oi, focus please. Okay. Diamine. And that is from Inkvent. Yep, so Inkvent 2024. Here we are. So yeah, there's lots of reds in there. There's a fair bit of green, as you can see. Wow, look at that. Get it to focus. So red, and then, come on, green, where are you? Yeah, there we are. Wonderful. Look at that green. So much green. Red, green, red, green. Amazing. Wonderful. Yeah. Decent. Tell you what, for people not totally familiar with the Lamy2000, if I saw that nib, I would actually believe that that's a Lamy2000. You know, if I'd seen photos of the Lamy2000 in a magazine or on a website and I'd received this, I wouldn't be as suspicious as any of the other creations, because this is quite impressive, actually. It's only about $70 as well. So, you know, decent value pen, especially for a full stainless steel construction. I mean, that's a pretty huge deal. Okay? What about some loops or, you know, some other fancy stuff with the there? How does it keep up? What do you reckon? Yeah, let's just do some quick ones. Yeah, easy. About varying the line width, squishing. Yeah, there we are. Not too bad. A bit of variability there if you squeeze the nib down a bit. Yeah. I like it. I really like it. Yeah, you know what? I will actually use this pen. Far more than I would say for the Dukang. No, not the Dukang, the Frosted 80s. I mean, geez, this thing, you know. It's a Lamy nib, isn't it? It's a genuine medium Lamy nib. Oh, yeah, some more Inkvent ink. We have the Lemon Lime. Look at this one. It's actually one of my favorite inks from that series, from that calendar. Very pretty. You get a bit of a bonus there. Look at that. Very nice. Lemon Lime. from the dodgy pen, Frosted 80. Actually, the nib there's probably 3 times the cost of the pen. Oh, you know, much the same as the actual Lamy2000. Speak of the devil, here's the Lamy2000, genuine, broad nib. Again, the ink is from the Ink Vent Calendar 2024, but this one is called Cranberry. And I really, really like this one. I really like it. So it's a wonderful red. It's got some other stuff going on, much like all the others. And where's the pen? There it is. All right, so it is the Lamy2000. Yeah. The OG. Yep. It has a B. And it has the cranberry ink by Lamy. And it's Ink Vent 2024. So Ink Vent 224. Off page, as usual. Sorry. Again, there we are. All right. And yeah, the flow of ink, as you can see, is absolutely ginormous, isn't it? Look at this. Yeah. Mega. Line width variation, not a huge amount, but you know, you wouldn't really be doing this to a Lamy2000 nib anyway. It's already pretty broad. I mean, how much broader do you want it to be? More broad, double, triple, more. The thing that freaks me out the most about this pen is that you get that level of ink coming out of a nib that is absolutely minuscule. It really just makes it all the more amazing when you take the thing apart and you see just how tiny that nib is. Yeah. Anyway, there you go, everyone. That's the Lamy2000 and its new doppelganger. It's not quite there yet, but boy, they're well on their way now, aren't they? Good on them. All right, thank you, everyone. See you later.